CM Punk is officially back in the world of professional wrestling, and so are we. This is the new and improved Wrestling Never Sleeps podcast. It was pandemonium last night in Chicago. I have never been more jealous of fans that got to be in attendance. But welcome to the Wrestling Never Sleeps podcast. I am, of course, your boy, Jared Never Sleeps, with my very, very, very handsome co-host, Mr. Adam Anthony James Martin. Adam, I missed you, buddy. Welcome back, brother. Welcome back.
Jared, I'm glad to be back. I've missed you a lot too, man. It seems like we needed that much needed break just to prepare everything that we're now able to do with our show, the cast, and of course, I think we were meant to wait for a very, 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 very special moment.
Bro, I mean, like we were gonna record we were gonna start recording it after SummerSlam consistently, but after I saw last night's show, Rampage, I was like, no, we have to do this now. This is definitely the right time. And man, was 7 years worth the wait. CM Punk finally back in professional wrestling.
CM Punk, Phil Brooks. Goosebumps. That's the feeling that I received last night, not just for myself, but you feel everybody else that's emotionally involved. Whether it being there live, whether it being the people on the commentating booth, whether it be the other athletes on the show, whether it being us watching as fans, people working, giving us results, everything and anything was just touched in a very, very special way in the world of professional wrestling. It's just one of those rare moments, Jared, that you can never take back and cannot be replaced.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I am, and I hope I'm not a prisoner of the moment, but I'm ready to say that was my all-time favorite wrestling thing ever. Like, I've been around for the Hulk Hogan years and the Rocks and the Austins and HBKs, and it was just I've never had goosebumps before for a return. I mean, there was grown men crying in the audience. The crowd was just red hot, and it was just it was something that was really special, and by far, I think AEW's brightest moment. It actually made me forget about the whole debacle with Eddie Kingston and John Moxley and Kenny Omega when the ring didn't go off in that death match. This was just incredibly special.
It was a different AEW back then. You can see the changes being made slowly throughout the whole entire year of 2021 from when they started off and then they continued through 2020. You can see the product change to a more professionalism. They brought the sport of pro wrestling back while maintaining their entertainment value and not just force feeding us, what they think what we want. They're giving us what we want. And last night was, again, the biggest, proudest moment, I would have to say. I would have to think Tony Khan also thinks the same way within that company, that organization, because it's just one person. One person is all it really takes. And it takes a very special person. And CM Punk, Phil Brooks, whatever you want to call him, the best in the world, by all means, thank you, Mr. Tony Khan. I'll be the first, not the last. Thank you, CM Punk, for realizing that, hey, this is massive. You wanted to make a movement when you were with the other guys. You were unable to. You were handcuffed. You're not handcuffed anymore, my friend. This was his moment. This is his era moving forward. Whether anyone likes to admit it or not, he has now lit a match that is attached to a stick of dynamite. No pun intended, because we were watching Rampage last night. But AEW is officially all elite in terms of being a professional wrestling company.
Yeah, one thing I thought about is the casual fan, the guy that clicked on, he was flipping through the channels and he sees this spectacle happening. I wonder what like the average person would have thought about some type of the showing that happened last night. I mean, you don't really typically see that on television. Like even if Michael Jordan himself was to come back to the United States for an appearance, I don't think you'd even get that reaction.
No, not at all. And again, it was just so meaningful, not only for that company, not only for I think were drifting away. No one was coming really new as a fan, you know what I mean? Like the fan base was not growing because of new fans coming in, and people were leaving. And
Yeah,
I think as a casual fan or someone that does come from the same time frame as me, being you, we both come from that golden era generation of the 1980s, all the way up until today. I can only think of two key moments through that whole entire time that could come potentially close to what we just felt last night. And it's been a long time since I felt that way. And I'm sure a lot of people out there listening have felt that way. So the two moments that I can compare to this is potentially when Ultimate Warrior beat Hulk Hogan, champion versus champion at WrestleMania.
right. In Toronto.
Huge because no one beat Hogan.
And you're a bit
in
biased because
Toronto.
you're Canadian. You're a bit biased.
Exactly. Got a ton in there. And of course, mentioning Hogan again when he was the third man
Oh yeah,
during the Attitude Era.
that was crazy by far.
That was groundbreaking.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's things in between 1996 until now, but for me personally, nothing in between that time frame other than maybe Taker losing his streak stood out to me off the top of my head. But this was massive. This one person, like I said, all it took was that music to hit, both personality, and like everybody already knew it.
And then he got the shirt back. He has the it's like the kind of same, pipe bomb shirt they had in 2011, I think, 2012. Just
Yes.
the same hair. It's just incredible. Again, that was like really one of the first moments where you got goosebumps and you remember, it makes you remember why you love this sport or why you love this show, whatever you want to call it. So he comes out and he goes ahead and he said he challenges Darby Allin at the next AEW pay-per-view. How do you feel about this matchup between CM Punk and Darby Allin off the bat?
So the cool thing that Punk did was that he reminded all the new fans, people that really like everyone knows him, but they might not know his history completely, right? They might have only seen him with his tenure in WWE. There is history between Darby Allin and CM Punk, and I believe Punk made it very clear that he needs to rectify and remove some of that history. And the first name that he dropped, the first name on his list, yes, was Darby Allin. This just a stylistic matchup that is on paper. It's going to be really intense. Darby Allin's a guy that's now paired with Sting, has been for quite some time. He's built his own value within the business, within AEW, former TNT champion, a guy that's consistently moving up in the rankings, not the AEW rankings, but just building his own value of worth inside the ring and outside the ring. And I think CM Punk calling in Darby Allin, A, it's starting to begin to tell a story again, and B, the matchup stylistically is going to be phenomenal. You have a guy that can fly around like Darby Allin, can take his bumps. His bumps are amazing. They're brutal, but they're amazing. He can dish it out with his high offensive, impactful, speed. Like he's just got everything there with Darby Allin, and a guy like Punk, so veteranized and so mature in every aspect. It's just going to be watching he's gonna. We thought Darby Allin got put over by Jericho or who was it? Was it Jericho?
Was he fighting?
When Darby Allin,
Who was he
With
fighting? Yeah,
closer to the beginning of AEW days.
Say that again?
Or was it Cody? Cody, I'm sorry.
Cody.
When Darby Allin was doing his thing with Cody, Cody made him. Cody got him to the next level. That's gonna be peanuts compared to what CM Punk's gonna do for Darby Allin coming in this feud with this match at All In. That is the next pay-per-view. So that's where I see that call out going, and that's where I see the outcome going is Darby Allin just getting brought up to a whole new level that he's never even knew was possible.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that's smart that WWE, we'll get to them in a second. One thing that's smart that AEW is doing is that they're mixing CM Punk, a guy that's in the wrestling world a household name, someone that has name value still, clearly and obviously to this day. And they're putting him with a younger guy. So now, if you didn't know who Darby Allin was before, you definitely know him because now he's facing CM Punk in his return match. So it's just kind of like when Jericho was leaving WCW, he had one of the criticisms that WCW would always just have the same guys work with the same guys. They never mixed it up. They never had like Jericho versus Hogan or Jericho versus Piper. It was always like the mid card and the upper card and the lower card. Like they never kind of mixed it up. But now you have a guy, CM Punk is obviously a main event caliber guy. They could have easily brought him in and threw him in there with Kenny Omega. They could have easily threw him in there with Moxley or Jericho or even MJF. But they're like, let's take our time, let's slow burn this, and let's start off with Darby Allin. So I really can appreciate the patience that this company is showing and the long-term storytelling, because it makes me excited that okay, maybe a year from now we'll get CM Punk in the world title match, and just let it build up and let it let these crowds get bigger and bigger and bigger, and have the whole company grow. So yeah, Darby Allin versus CM Punk, I think is definitely an awesome match for the first one. Especially, I don't know if you remember a couple weeks ago, Darby Allin had that kind of like that throwaway line where he said AEW is the place to prove yourself, even if you think you're the best in the world. So it's kind of like the little, hey, he's coming.
The little jab, right?
Yeah,
Going back to what you were saying about patience.
yeah.
CM Punk deserves a lot of credit for this as well. Because if you remember, if you're a WWE fan or if you watched the product when Punk was around, he was not the most patient or the most humble person to work with. Issues with backstage management, issues with other talent on stuff, issues with PR, issues with everybody within that company. So for him to humble himself and work with Darby Allin and go this route and making us be patient is just phenomenal.
Well, I mean, even like his the backstage stuff, I can understand where he's coming from, because I mean, even think about this. Roman Reigns a couple of days ago, actually, he had an interview. He's doing press for SummerSlam, and he said something to the effect of like, "Let's face it, CM Punk was never as over as a John Cena. He was never as over, or he never moved the needle like The Rock." And it's kind of like that's the mentality over there, right? The mentality is kind of like, hey, if we don't like this person, we're just not going to push him. CM Punk has had the biggest reaction out of any wrestler in the past 10 years. I mean, that was way bigger than Cena's return recently. So it just kind of speaks on that corporate atmosphere where it's like, hey, if you're not one of our guys, we don't really care for you, because the reaction speaks for itself. The emotion and the goosebumps and the way everyone's reacting to this return is really speaking for itself. And the fact that WWE didn't really understand him or understand the connection he has with fans is more telling about him rather than telling about CM Punk's disposition or his his character, I feel.
Definitely, 100%. The guy knows his value. He knows his worth. He knows what he can bring to the table. He knows how he can be a main eventer because he is one. He knows how to build other talent and to prove that with Darby Allin. The fact that CM Punk, Phil Brooks is back in professional wrestling, it's simply amazing because again, it's not only gonna bring back those diehard old fans. It's not only gonna bring fans over from the other products, that remember those good days that were, you know, the kind of 2010 era for them. They had those little pockets of goodness. Punk was a huge part of that. So the fact that he's now debuted in the AEW, you know, essentially, you know, what everyone says on the opposite side, you know, a company full of indie guys that don't know how to produce, don't know how to, you know, put stories together, guys that don't actually know how to have matches per se. You can just whitewash all that because, again, the growth and with the addition of guys like Punk, it's just showing you that they're moving in the right direction. They now have to go and the amount of shows that they have. So it's just mind blowing. After 7 years, I think it was what 2,000 something days since we've seen CM Punk.
2,766.
There we go. Thank you very much, sir. Again, you know, almost 3,000 days. And the feeling that we all got last night just says it all. One person, like I said before, made that much of a difference, brought that much. I don't want to say hope, because hope weighs if you don't catch it or hang on to it. But he brought something. He brought something different, and he's going to continue to bring something different. Just a new brand, new product, new talent to work with. And that's the part that I'm excited about. All the potential talent, you know, we eventually might get to work with, like you said, slow burning and starting off with a guy like Darby Allin. It's just a great way to set the pace.
Yeah, I think ultimately what this shows us is that this company is this pro wrestling company is committed to making the fans happy and really listen to the fans on what they want. And speaking of what they want, let's switch gears a little bit. So there's another company up in New York known as WWE, and they've been kind of going back and forth with each other. We're not competition, we are competition. And okay, now the AEW is starting to really build a nice little roster. And even before we were filming, I was watching a recap of even Chris Jericho's entrance, the fifth labor of Jericho, when he wasn't allowed to have his music, and the fans were going red hot as far as they were singing his anthem, having a great time. It was like it was so crazy to see that Jericho was able to get his theme over, and he didn't have to say a word. Like everyone just in the crowd, just going crazy. So with that being said, AEW is catching some steam and momentum. They're building up their roster. They have some main event stars. They have some younger talent. They have great mid-card guys. They have some good comedy guys. Is the balance of power starting to shift in professional wrestling?
I have to say yes. Look at what's happening with NXT. Look what's happening with WWE. Look what's happening with all the releases. It's starting to be a major deal in their financial backing now with Peacock and all that stuff. They're losing fans. And fans support the brand. If no fans are there to watch the show, what's the point, right? It's like not having a television deal.
Yeah.
If you're a professional wrestling company and you don't have a television deal, oof, you're in a really, really bad spot in WWE, whether they see it or not, whether they think it or not, whether they'll leave it or not. They're in a terrible spot if this is something that they want to continue to do. You know, something that they've been doing my whole life. You know, and that's produced amazing wrestling content up until the last decade or two. It's been ridiculous on the run, and the power has definitely shifted. It only took 2 years. And
that's scary. That is scary.
Very scary.
2 years.
That's just how slappy WWE has been, because never, you know, would they have let this happen before. You can compare it to WCW, but 83 weeks is not, you know, it's not the same. We have a totally different backing with Tony Khan and the Khan family. Then, you know, you've got a guy like Ted Turner and Eric Bischoff running things. You have a guy like Don Callis now who's implemented himself in to help with this power shift, creating a sense of what's going on in the ring, what's going on in the storyline, what's going on in the storytelling. And then their coaching, it seems like the talent to be less indie. And I don't want you to take that wrong way, because that's where you learn on the indies, but they're making them more professional. And it seems like AEW is doing what WWE did, but they're doing it in the wrong way in regards to how they want their talent to work. and they're allowing them to keep the freedom as well. So it's just a win-win-win-win-win. The shift is turning. A guy like Punk solidifies that. We've seen it. We've seen it on the internet. They broke the internet last night. Power shifted.
All over the
Definitely
place.
has.
There was a presser on YouTube. I saw Tony Khan and CM Punk did an interview, and there were so many news outlets. The New York Post is there, and they're just interviewing the both of them. And it's like it's such a weird feeling for me because I've been just traditionally I grew up in New York. I've been a WWE fan my entire life, and it's kind of feel like it's like I feel like I'm in a relationship where now I have like a new person, and I just wanted my old person to act like my new person. You know, like why didn't you love me? Like why can't you just love me? You know, I just feel like WWE really
Exactly.
because they had the ability to give us this moment. You know, they could have gave us this moment the entire time at a Royal Rumble, at a WrestleMania, and we just never got that. And it's just
cutting it a little bit.
It took another company that, you know, as being a WWE fan your whole life, you kind of want to reject AEW at first. You kind of just want to be loyal to the WWE brand, but at this point, it's like AEW is giving us everything that we want. They're giving us new, fresh matchups. I mean, Daniel Bryan hasn't even debuted yet. And now also Tony Khan is saying that there's another major signing, another huge name that they're going to be signing soon. That could be anybody. That could be Bray Wyatt. That could be Braun Strowman. You know what? I would even take a Brock Lesnar. I would even take Brock Lesnar just because. You're chopping up a little bit, buddy.
I was gonna say you're chopping up too. There you're back.
That must be you. But yeah, so I definitely got to say the balance of power shifted, and then even to compare it to WCW, what the advantage that AEW has is that they actually have had the advantage of seeing WCW fall. They saw WCW fall, so now they have a template to say, okay, let's not do this. They had people that were at WCW when it fell. There's Arn Anderson was there, Chris Jericho was there. I think Dean Malenko is one of the eight. Ric Flair might be coming. So they have that. They have now this this template to go by and say we're not going to do that. I also think it'd be kind of foolish for them to go head to head on Monday night. I think they know their lane, and they're just going to stay their lane and they continue to dominate and grow unless WWE changes. You know, we'll see what happens tonight at SummerSlam.
Well, yeah, it's Saturday tonight, so they're not actually doing it on Sunday. They're doing it tonight.
They're doing it tonight. And NXT takeovers tomorrow, and the NXT takeover tomorrow. And then, hey, if AEW gets Adam Cole, then it's just like ball game.
Game over.
Game over.
I've been an Adam Cole fan since Mount Rushmore. Adam Cole, baby, has a place in my heart anywhere he goes. If he does go to AEW, you better believe from one Adam to another, they'll be strongly supportive of the Bay because it's just the way it is. Adam Cole is a superstar in his own right. Not to talk because we are here to talk about CM Punk, but just like you said, the big announcement. Going back to what you're saying about the big announcement, you know, obviously it's not going to be Cole, but there's just so many other names you can mix in with that and throw in with a guy like, you know, CM Punk down the road. But back to the power shift. What do you think WWE can do to hold position at least? Not gain back that momentum, but hold position so they don't fall further. Because the momentum, like you said, from AEW is just shooting, skyrocketing. There's more news to come. There's more matchups to come. There's a lot of excitement to come from that product. And I know this is about Punk because he's a huge part of that shift, if not the biggest part of the shift currently right now. But what do you think WWE can do to counteract someone like CM Punk? To maintain
I tried to think about this. I was thinking about this. It's like, okay, what does WWE do at this point? And I think history tells us that I don't think they have an answer for this. It's a much different company than when they were going head to head with WCW. When they were going head to head with WCW, they had guys like Triple H and they had guys like Stone Cold and HBK and The Rock, and they were not constrained. They had creative freedom unlike how they don't have any creative freedom now. It's just a bunch of TV writers or Hollywood writers that write the script and hand it to the wrestlers nowadays. So you're never gonna get that organic. You're not gonna let the wrestlers be the wrestlers now. So the ideas are coming from people who just who have a disconnect. It's coming from Hollywood people. It's not coming from wrestling people. So it's also, Vince McMahon's almost 80 years old. Back then in the Attitude Era, he was 50 years old. He's probably a lot hungrier, just different. He wasn't a billionaire, CEO of a publicly traded company back then. So I don't see WWE going out of business because they're just way too diverse for that. But I can definitely see them becoming the second most popular wrestling company in the world because, a lot of times WWE is just very unwatchable. It's just crap. The only thing they can do is what are they gonna do? What could be more exciting than this? There's really no one out in the market that would really move the needle. Okay, yeah, The Rock might come back, but that's only going to be for a match or so. And how many times can they do that? CM Punk was the home run hit. CM Punk was the guy that could really get the eyeballs on the product again, could get the ass in the seats. And WWE, they're just going to continue to go that one trick pony of bringing out Goldberg or bringing back The Rock, or might bring back Rock, but we've seen that already. So it's going to get interesting. I don't know what they're going to do, but I will say I expect Vince McMahon to put up some type of fight because that's just who he is.
That's just in his cojones.
Yeah, right, frowns.
Excuse me. But
go ahead.
Yeah. I honestly, like you said, I don't know what they can do. I think they're really complacent. They need to do something, but again, you can't bring back Edge, Goldberg, Brock. You can't bring back the guy like Brock. You can't bring Brock back, but again, who's he gonna match up against?
And we don't want to see that
so much. No,
we don't want to
see new guys. I want to see new talent. I want to see exactly like the Attitude Era when we had Austin breaking through. When we had The Rock coming up, we had Triple H, Hunter coming up, we had the New Age Outlaws, we had Kane coming back, we had Mankind, we had just so many top-level guys that weren't quite top guys yet that made themselves in that position, and we're not getting that opportunity with WWE or the talent getting the opportunity to even prove themselves. Guys like Keith Lee are getting squashed. Facing guys like Raw, they're squashing each other. It's ridiculous. It's redundant, and they're getting old guys that we grew up watching. The opportunity that shouldn't be theirs anymore, and they should know this. A guy like Edge, a wrestling guy, should be willing to give the opportunity back, like Jericho did.
Yeah.
Like Punk's going to do. That's the difference.
Even I watched SmackDown last night, and Seth Rollins' character, Seth Rollins is a great performer. In ring, good on the mics, but what is he doing right now? Yeah, he's in a high profile matchup with Edge for SummerSlam and everything, but it's just remember when Seth Rollins was the evil snarmy guy with the briefcase? I like that Seth Rollins. I like Shield Seth Rollins, but this guy with the
gloves.
Yeah, with the weird glove, the OJ gloves. But it's there's nothing really that's gonna be oh, I want to see this, or there's nothing really gonna get that pop. I wouldn't be surprised if Vince McMahon's on the phone with the Undertaker right now, please come back, pal. I need you.
Yeah, come on, pal. We need to raise the dead again, pal.
Yeah.
One more time, pal. Baby.
Yeah, it's it's gonna be interesting to see, but they're definitely catching steam. But switching gears, we've both been fans for a very long time, over I would say 20 years, has to be over 20 years. Where does this rank to you as far as all-time debuts, all-time comebacks, all-time pops?
Okay, so thinking it over, because there's been a few times where I've been excited about someone coming back or being debuted or jumping ship. this has to top the list though, right? Like this is the one. Because just the anticipation, the knowledge of what this guy brings to the table, the time of the wrestling business right now is completely different than a lot of other comebacks or debuts. It's just so fitting and so proper timed. It reminds me of kind of like Hall and Nash before the NWO was actually introduced, because the contracts lined up a week apart. You had Scott Hall jump, then you had Kevin Nash jump. It's like, boom, no one at that time knew what was going on. No one expected that big of a move. Everybody has Savage, Hogan, those old timer guys, Duggan, all the guys at WWE. It was kind of similar to what is going on now. You see a bunch of them show up in the other company. But the guy that they couldn't get, the guy that they tried to get, the guy that they couldn't even work with anymore because he was disgusted with working with them and the product, AEW got that golden nugget, that golden goose. The guy that can put the asses in the seats. This is probably the biggest, most significant. It's 2 in 1 combo. They should come back to come back to professional wrestling. They should get the debut. His first ever time in AEW. And there was a time earlier when AEW was first starting out, they potentially were looking at Punk again. But Punk publicly said, their amateurs, they're not good enough for me, they're not handling business properly. They DM'd him through Twitter or Instagram, I believe, the first time around. Is how the story went. This time it seems like they pulled up the big boy pants. They made the right offer. They made the right moves. To me, the biggest significant comeback debut possible.
Yeah, I'm going.
We knew it. We were still unsure. He's trolled us before. He's trolled us. He's made comments before online saying, "Yep, I'm coming back. I'm coming back," or he's hinted towards certain things, and they just never came to fruition. He's laughed at us, but I guarantee biggest time and he delivered. Punk being there.
Yeah, I'm willing to. I'm willing to say that this is, by far, this is AEW's greatest moment by far. But like I said before, this is definitely my favorite moment in wrestling, period. And I would even go as far as say that this is bigger than Kevin Nash and Scott Hall showing up on TNT over 20 years ago. Strictly because, there was not a whole crowd full of people being like, Kevin Nash, Kevin Nash. Like, it was just like, oh, hey, what the hell is he doing here? I think this is
even prior to the show, right?
That again?
Even prior to the show, the fans were already chanting CM Punk.
They were chanting CM Punk in freaking WWE audiences. That's how huge it is. So I'm willing to this was the greatest. This is the greatest in-ring return ever. Sorry, Ronda Rousey. Sorry, Bad Bunny. Sorry, what other the Hardy Boys at WrestleMania that year?
WrestleMania
32, I believe it was, in Orlando.
Yes, sir.
When they popped up.
Yes, sir.
Anticipation. They
AJ Styles rumbled.
AJ Styles. It pales in comparison.
And I even, the closest one in my mind. The closest one in my mind to this situation is another guy that's in AEW right now. And that was when Chris Jericho interrupted the Raw for his debut.
Oh, yeah. That was, yeah.
That pop and fireworks and the crowd reaction to Jericho showing up.
They showed up on the screen, Jericho. Yeah.
The clock countdown. That's number 2 now, because that was number 1 in my.
And even John Cena had a really good return at Money in the Bank this year. And it's just like, it's not like CM Punk's, though. It's definitely not like CM Punk. And it's good.
For Roman Reigns to go up there and say that he was not, John Cena of his era, he was not the guys, and that well known, not that over, the complete bullshit, because obviously he is and has been this whole time.
So before we wrap up, what matchups would you like to see CM Punk engage in in the AEW.
So currently, we got Darby Allin.
Yep.
Let's get through Darby Allin. Now we're looking at other potential possibilities, other matches that everybody's going to want to see. I'm not going to even go if someone joins, if someone, I'm not going to go with that. I'm just going with the talent they have right now. Sign one, the load, ready to go. So number one, after Darby Allin, I got to think of a guy like Adam Page.
Yeah. Or like, cool? Because, Punk's what, 43 years old now?
Yes.
How about like CM Punk and Adam Page tag teaming up against like the Young Bucks? That'd be interesting.
That'd be very interesting as well. That depends on what CM Punk's going to do after Darby Allin. You know what I mean? Is he potentially going to be a heel per se, or is it impossible to make Punk a heel? So right now you got a face for space.
No, Punk needs to be a heel in like a year or two from now, like 2 years from now. He needs a nice 2-year babyface run. Like, let's just like give him his flowers while he's still here. Like, we waited for 7 years for him to come back. So, yeah, he's got to be a baby.
Right?
Huh?
He can't be a dick right off the bat, right?
He can't be a dick right off the bat. And I'm really looking forward to. I'm looking forward to CM Punk versus MJ.
What's that?
CM Punk versus MJF.
Okay. If there was any other name before Adam Page, MJF could be the name before Adam Page. Just because those are the two top guys that we get back on anything. Other names that I thought of, Scorpio Sky. Would have a great match. Even Adam Page, or not, sorry, Adam. I worked with him in Hamilton.
Say that again?
I worked with him in Hamilton. Ethan Page, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought you meant Ethan Page. Yeah, Ethan Page.
Yeah. Ethan Page, MJ, Kenny Omega, obviously the top three guys as well.
Kenny Omega, yeah.
Kenny Omega, eventually the title if he goes that route, doesn't ever need it. You don't need to put the belt on CM Punk whatsoever. He might challenge for it, but does he need to win it? No. But I'm just trying to think of the talent because right now AEW has a lot of talent that we never even see a lot of. You know what I mean? There's not been a big focus on a lot of the guys that are super talented in the ring and on mic that he can work with. Like I'm trying to think of a guy on the mic that I could keep up with the guy that Punk.
There's CM Punk Jungle Boy. There's CM Punk Sammy Guevara.
Jungle Boy, thank you, Jungle Boy.
Yeah, Jungle Boy.
That's what I would see. Mr. Perry.
Who else is it? You could. I mean, maybe he's probably too big for the TNT title. He doesn't really need it. Matter of fact, he doesn't even need any title. They can really.
No, he doesn't need any title. That's what I was saying.
Daniel Bryan's coming in soon. Hopefully, they get Bray Wyatt. Man, it's just a good time to be a wrestling fan. It's a good time to be just watching this company grow as well. Because we definitely were AEW haters when it first popped out. We definitely were not sold on the hokey orange mud show wrestling, as Cornette says it.
I was not sold on the mimosa bath matches.
Yeah, right. And what's the Asian girl with the red bows? And she does the little stupid.
Riho.
Yeah. Riho. Yeah.
But there's so many names you can pair up with CM Punk and still get the great quality.
Yeah.
They're gonna learn from him. And everybody else, like you said, we mentioned Asian names like Malenko, Flair, Sting, guys like that, Big Show, Paul White. They've all been through WCW. They've all been through that era. They know what to do right. They know when they have gold in their hands. They have platinum right now. So Punk is platinum. No one can take that away from him. They're going to use him right. Keep using him wrong. It's just, no matter who you pair him up with, I'm excited to see Darby Allin and tied up at All Out. So we're going to talk about that. Everyone wants to talk about this match.
September 5th is the day. So let's wrap up here because we have another show to film tonight, Adam. SummerSlam's tonight. That's gonna be
Feel the heat, brother.
Feel that heat. You better feel the heat live from Las Vegas, SummerSlam. So we're gonna wrap up this show here. Thanks for watching. If you like our videos, make sure you like and subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can get updated on more videos that we drop each and every single week. That's our time. Stick around later tonight where we'll be reviewing SummerSlam right after the show. So thanks for watching, guys. For my co-host, Real Adam, Anthony, James Martin, I am Jared Never Sleeps. Thanks for watching and enjoy SummerSlam.